Welcome into Toast Film, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Trey.
And I'm one of your hosts, E Bo.
And we have a fantastic episode planned for you guys today. Not only did my boy Eddie bring the receipts, we have a lot of facts we were ready to lay out, a lot of reviews, and a lot of fun talking discussion. So, Eddie, why don't you tell the viewers what we got in specific for them?
Well, I feel a bad moon rising.
Hey.
Because we will be reviewing the new Lee Wannell film, The Wolf Man. This isn't, werewolf movie.
Right.
Or is it? We'll find out. Stay tuned. We'll also be reviewing a foreign horror film, The Damned.
Yes.
Me and Trey saw that, had a pretty good night. And we'll be giving our top 5 Wolfman movies. And don't forget, we'll be reviewing Mr. Snail's Pick of the Week. Still trying to find Mr. Snail.
Yep.
Boogin stole him.
Oh,
and
man.
I don't know where he has gone to.
Well, he just wants to be a part of it,
He does. He's like, if I can't be in the studio, I'm stealing the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
But Trey, before we get into all that, we're toasting, got a little Wolfbane drink.
Yes.
Some rosemary infused rum. We got some ginger beer.
Yeah.
Some blueberries. All
gotta have that for
things.
The Wolfbane. Yeah, man.
But 2 things I want to bring. One, physical media. Me and Trey, we're big physical media. As you can kind of see breaking in through the green screen, a bunch of movies behind Trey.
Yep.
This week is a major release week. I mean, this week is the week that we dream of.
Yeah.
We got coming to Blu-ray DVD this week, The Substance, Smile 2, Venom the Last Dance, Elevation, Heretic, Here, Azrael. So, I mean, that's a very solid week. We'll see. I was in Auburn last night at their Walmart, and they seem to be discontinuing selling movies, which is very upsetting considering Target's already stopped selling movies. Best Buy stopped selling movies. Walmart's our last hope.
Yeah.
Trey, likes to bring up, you got old Barnes & Noble.
Barnes & Noble's a sleeper. You just have to catch them on their deal days. And they know they're overpriced. They jack the price up and they give you 20 to 30% off, which is really the standard price anywhere else. So you're getting just, I would say, a few dollars over standard price from like Walmart and stuff. But if that's the only place, I'm happy to pay it.
Yeah. But speaking of paying, so me and Trey were discussing, I saw this tweet where somebody was discussing Red One's budget.
Yeah.
This is something that the film community has been talking about. The Red One budget is estimated $250 million. And we like Red One.
Yeah.
Let us just lead with that. We like Red One.
But it is not a $250 million budget movie.
185 of that was to the movie. 15 of that was to Chris Evans. And 50 million was paid to The Rock.
And here's my problem with this. The Rock, a household name. We know this. And, every production company, director tries to get him in any film. But there is no way you can tell me that there's that much of a wage disparity between the Captain America, who played in 12 years worth of Marvel movies, and The Rock. And apparently The Rock is worth $35 million more. I got a major problem with that.
Trey, it gets worse because if you look at, I'm about to name 8 films whose combined budget, $247.5 million.
Wow.
So less than the budget of Red One.
Yeah.
Strange Darling, $4 million.
Okay.
Heretic, $10 million. So that means Strange Darling and Heretic, you could film both of those and it's still less than Chris Evans got paid.
Yeah.
Then if you add in The Substance, $17.5 million because practical effects.
Yeah.
Abigail and Smile 2 were $28 million a piece. The First Omen, $30 million. So you could get The First Omen and The Substance for less than The Rock.
Unreal.
Nosferatu, $50 million. That entire movie, same budget as The Rock.
Unreal.
Alien Romulus, $80 million. And I mean, even if you look at the films we're reviewing today, The Wolfman, $25 million.
Right.
Nightbitch, $20 million.
Right.
The Damned, less than $1 million. Because the only thing
Unreal.
I could find on The Damned was they were given $250,000 or euros, from the UK Global Screen Fund. So I mean, that movie, $250,000.
Right.
crazy.
Right. Well, and I think just bouncing back to Red One, I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's overhated.
Agree.
This is, in the 3 range rating. I mean, this isn't, gonna be in your yearly rotation, but it is a decent movie.
I would even have it like a 3.8, 3.9.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it's got good rewatchability.
Yeah.
But when you just look at the price,
I just don't understand what was going through their mind. I don't understand how anyone. I mean, we look at some of the biggest Marvel movies where Marvel has built its audience, has built its recognition back when it was, the Infinity War saga,
pre-Endgame,
when it had like every movie had really good hype to it, and no one doubted the formula. But back then, you're looking at some of the biggest movies like Civil War, Infinity War, 250 million. Infinity War had, $500 million, but still, like, you get my point. They knew based on the forecastings that would hold up. And it did. I don't know how someone comes out with a Christmas movie, and it's a very unorthodox Christmas movie, and they have the confidence to say this will make its money back with a $250 million budget. I just don't understand that.
Worldwide, as of this recording, Red One has brought in $185 million.
I'm honestly shocked.
So it's brought in its budget if you take out Chris Evans and The Rock.
Yeah, really, yeah. Guess they're not getting paid.
Well, look, we just had to get that negativity out of the way just because, to me, that is just crazy. And it just goes to show all those films we mentioned, practical effects.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, Alien Romulus, Smile 2, which had crazy effects.
Yes. If Alien Romulus, 80 million is 100% warranted. Yeah. And the effects that 80 million gives you is out of this world. There is no doubt in my mind that Red One could not have done what it needed to do with a penny over 80 million.
Yeah.
It could have the same budget. And look at Dungeons and Dragons. Look at how great Dungeons and Dragons was.
Such a fun movie.
That was 120 million.
Yeah.
And, that was, looked just as good as Red One. It had half the budget.
I think Dungeons and Dragons is great. That movie's very underappreciated.
No, that movie is one of my favorite movies.
Trey's a D&D guy.
Yeah, I love Dungeons and Dragons. But, for the price and the visuals of the movie, and it had a stat cast. Like, I mean, Hugh Grant, Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Hugh Grant, Justice Smith.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper. Cooper. So, I mean,
little spoiler.
Yeah, little spoiler there, yeah. I just don't understand the 250 million. And if one of the viewers out there listening understands the movie industry budget, someone please tell me, because I can't seem to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, because I understand a lot about like the inner workings of filming, stuff like that from my time on sets, but budget is still something it's just a different department. Confounds me.
Yeah, different area, different compartment, and I just want to know their train of thought, because again, 250 million. How do I go out there to the investors with confidence and say this movie is going to make our money back plus some on a extremely high budget that most Marvel films don't get?
That's why Christian films and horror films, they film cheap, they get a big return.
Yep. It's the only industry I want to be in, you know what I mean?
But dude, speaking of horror films, as we mentioned a second ago, $25 million budget. We have Lee Wannell's The Wolfman.
Yeah.
This was co-written by him and his wife, Corbett Tuck. Both of them have been actors in the Insidious franchise. He's been an actor in the Saw franchise. He's also been a director. The Invisible Man, which we love. Great movie.
Love it.
And this has Christopher Abbott as Blake. This has Julia Garner, old Ruth, as Charlotte.
Yeah.
And Matilda Firth as Ginger, which I thought I wonder if that was like a nod to Ginger Snaps.
Interesting. Never thought about that. Could be.
Lee Wannell, he also brought us Upgrade, which incredible movie.
And wrote the Insidious movies. He co-wrote the Insidious with James Wan.
Directed 3.
Yeah.
And with this, Blake and his wife, they're kind of kind of at odds. So his dad dies. They are going to empty his cabin where his dad lived, where he grew up, as we see in the opening scene. Crashes, and then the whole night goes to hell.
Yeah. And it's important to note that both of them are in writing/journalism.
Yeah.
So it made sense for a getaway because most writers want to kind of clear their mind, get somewhere a little bit isolated. So the writing really was fluid to me in the movie. But
so let me start with this. The opening scene. I love
the opening scene.
I think the opening scene, because when it starts out, you're like, okay, where are we going with this? And the opening scene, I thought was so clever.
Yeah.
And the scene, like how we see the breath.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't see it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like that, Lee Wannell's like, look, you're going to get a little snippet here, little snippet there, but it's going to be a while before you actually see this.
Right.
Because I think we don't see it till the truck that's like in the trailer.
Yep.
That's like the first time you fully see this thing.
Yeah.
But he really knew what he was doing with some of the Wolfman stuff.
I completely agree.
Like when they're running up to the house.
Yep.
And you see it like running on all fours.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh God.
Which, man, I really appreciated that because I just feel like we don't see that in werewolves that much anymore. So I feel like that had a little nod to American Werewolf in London.
Which he did bring up, in an interview with Screen Rant, that he did take some inspiration from Rick Baker.
Yeah.
And the writing of this, we're bringing up the Wolfman stuff because I wanted to mention that before we get into what is the meat of this story.
Yeah.
Where he treats it as a, degenerating illness.
Yeah.
Which, because at the time he was losing a friend to a degenerative illness when he was writing this.
Yeah.
So he put his emotions into this. And, Blake, he's slowly like losing his ability to hear. He's losing his ability to speak. He's losing his motor functions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very clever. Here's my thing. So me and Trey have not talked about this movie.
No.
Here's my thing. I like this. I didn't love this. And my biggest issue is when a Wolfman is not on screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of Wolfman though.
There was
quite a more than I thought there was going to be.
And that's very true. But it's those little, because this is a very slow burn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just something didn't work with the couple for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Trey? Tell us some stuff, some feelings about the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So I was pleasantly surprised by the movie. Like I was telling Eddie, I was pleasantly surprised by how much Wolfman we got, because a lot of movies, and we know this with the werewolf genre too well, there's a lot of movies where they don't show the werewolf till the very end.
Yeah.
And we see that plenty. Or you just get pieces of a werewolf, an outline of a werewolf, so they kind of give you your money's worth for people who want to see a werewolf. Now of course this is a wolf man, so you gotta going into it, it is different, but we went into it knowing that, so I didn't have a problem with that.
No, I didn't have a problem with it.
I also didn't have a problem with the design. I thought that the design was refreshing. It looked different than I thought it was going to be, but I wasn't mad at it. Like when you get some really good up close looks at it, and the transformation that that we see Christopher Abbott go through, especially when he's in the truck and he's looking way more animalistic.
Oh, he gets real bad.
It is crazy looking. Definitely a slow burner, and I will say I think they could have done a little bit more character development with the couple. Yeah. Since you brought that up. I get that, because we didn't get, you go right in, they have a little bit of bickering, and you feel from the beginning, there's just something, they're not at like 100%, they're having some like marital strife, but we didn't get enough. And the whole movie is really about reconnection.
Yeah.
In a way. So I do feel like it is important that we get more than what we got, because that was the underlying, arc of the whole movie, was the strength and the reconnection about the two and their daughter. But let me tell you, this movie does some incredible stuff with sound.
It does.
And they are creative. Like, this movie makes a Wolfman so much more intense because of the sound. You will see him like flying past a window, and you get that you almost hear the wind in front of you. It's very transportive. You feel like you're in the movie.
Well, and Stefan Duskio, he's the cinematographer. He's worked on Lee Wannell's films before. They did this shot that they did a couple of times that I think is incredible.
Yes.
Where
I know where you're going with this.
It's very bright.
Yes.
And the sound is muffled when she's speaking. And then as the camera is panning, the light is adjusting, the sound is getting more clear.
Yes.
And they did that all practical. They had somebody rigged up who's adjusting the lighting. They had somebody adjusting the audio. And it's a very cool shot. And it just goes to show when you do things practical.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
And here's the thing. Practical effects on a werewolf movie almost has a rating in its own. So like having to go lower. And then here's another thing. So we talk about the sound and the creative design with the vision. But here's another thing that neither one of us talked about, even after the movie. They did something so cool to me where and this has never been done before, you get a wolf language. Because when you are Christopher Abbott transforming and you're listening to his wife, you hear her speaking in a different language. So he doesn't even understand English anymore. There's a lycanthrope language that is like been out there in history, but actually seeing it on screen is really cool. So
I think that could be it. I also think it could just be showing like him degenerating where it's like us talking to like a squirrel.
Yeah.
And the squirrel can't understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought
did sound like when she was talking, it was like it sounded almost like a German or like it sounded like, but I mean, I could go for a better rewatch.
I thought you were going to bring up something that I actually loved. And this to me was the best thing in the movie. I love the opening scroll where we're introduced to this thought of this disease.
Yes.
This like wild man disease,
yes.
Face of the wolf.
Right.
That happens to people, out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so we're not going with like a curse. We're going with a disease. And I really appreciated that where, okay, all these people, out in the sticks, they know about this. They know when they see these people, there's no helping them.
Oh, yeah.
There's only surviving them.
Yeah. And this is another thing I wanted to bring up that I don't know if you thought about, but because I had to tell Spencer this. I didn't think about it until she brought it up. But she was like, there's a scene early when they're traveling to his farm, his childhood farm, where they run into a local.
Yeah, that he grew up with.
Yeah, and had a weapon. And Spencer, who was watching with us, she was like, I wouldn't let some random man in. And I was like, well, you have to think, one, they did know each other.
Yeah.
And two, I understand, I didn't think about this, but I had to think of it from his perspective, not the dad, but the childhood friend. He knew after dark that Wolf was going to be there.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be inside of a truck.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to walk at this point. He was like, get me in your car and take me and I'll help you. Because he didn't want to be outside either. So I was like,
that's a good point. Because I spent, growing up, I spent a lot of time in the summers at my grandparents.
Yeah.
Out in Toppleton, Georgia.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere, Georgia. And it's, it's very common for people to be walking around with guns. So Christopher Abbott, he was raised like that. So he's not fazed.
And he said around here, everyone got guns.
Yeah.
Just like we know in the South.
That is an interesting thing where he knew dusk was coming. He knew night was coming, which means he knew that, this face of the wolf is out there.
Yeah. And then Before we give our review, I want us to talk this through to see if we have any last change, because when I watched this movie in theaters, I really just had a good experience.
Yeah.
And you leaned over to me at one time, and you're like, this is Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
Yeah.
There was so many good nods.
Yeah. There's a scene with a barn that was just like Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
Because he was digging.
And he was on the roof of it, and then he was digging at the bottom.
And it just, and the way they did the sound really made him intimidating. And it was so fun. This is a movie that there's no doubt I will easily put on again and watch, because there's going to be clips I want to see. And of course, I think the Wolfman's this is the third retelling of the Wolfman. So if you've seen the first two, you know the formula. I mean, there is a certain formula that both movies go with. And so you won't have a surprise if you're in that category. But one thing I love about the Wolfman story that they continue to tell is that the wolf has a conscience as part of the man.
Yeah.
Because he clearly held himself back in the presence of his wife and child.
He would have moments. It's kind of like a Hulk type thing, where he would have moments where Blake was the one deciding, not this disease, this wolf man.
Yeah.
And, it is similar to, open movie, get infected, dealing with the change.
Yeah.
But, the first two, the Lon Chaney Jr., Benicio del Toro, that's more curses, gypsies, folklore. This is more folklore, but people who have been
dash of realism,
raised in the woods, disease, stuff like that.
Well, and it makes sense for our director, right?
Lee Wannell, man.
He's fantastic. He's never done me wrong. And he's still, when he has been the main director so far of the Dark Universe, we don't know if there's actually a Dark Universe, but we've gotten a Wolfman now, and we've gotten an Invisible Man. And he has introduced such a good ideology to realism in both these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because with Invisible Man,
it was science.
It was camera work for camo. And this is stuff that we know we have today in technology, because we have fighter jets in the military that can go completely camo. They use the same type of technology.
And, with this, there's disease. And we know there's so many illnesses that these far out tribes, native people back in the day dealt with. So,
well, and we know too, there's that one where there's a tribe out that would turn cannibalistic.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even in their tribe, because we know there's those out there too. But there was that certain case where something came over the tribe and they started eating each other.
Dude, disease will mess with you, man.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, look at bath salts.
Yeah.
There's just stuff out there that can make the human brain just rewire itself. So, I love Lee Wannell for introducing a sense of realism, even with a Wolfman, because to this day, there's not many werewolf movies that try and give you that sense of realism. It's always
and just let us preface one more time. This is a Wolfman movie, not a werewolf movie. Exactly. That is a very big distinction, as we'll get to when we do our list at the end of the episode.
100%.
But Trey, you mind if I start us off?
No, absolutely.
I've been going in a million directions since we saw the movie, because I do have a love of Lee Wannell, and I do have a love of so much he did in this movie.
Right.
I love the idea. I love Christopher Abbott's performance.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking to watch. This guy, who seems like a good dude, and what he's going through. And there's some really good scenes, real spooky scenes. And I'll tell anybody, future filmmakers, watch this opening scene.
Yeah.
Because the way it was shot, the way it was performed, the build up, the ending with where they're in the the like stand,
yeah,
the hunting stand.
Yeah, it goes back full circle.
And you see the breath.
Yeah.
And then you see the breath behind him, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
They did so many right things.
It's what you should do with filming. And I will say the rating I'm giving, it's a floor rating, which means this is the absolute lowest I would rate this movie. But I do see it could go up.
Yeah.
I need another watch. I need time to process, fully think about it. But I'm going to give it a 3.5 cheers.
That is what I like to hear.
I think this movie is a very good movie. I don't know yet if it's a great movie.
Right.
But it does great things, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's a very good movie that does great things, but I'm not willing to go to great status.
Yep.
But I still think the lowest I can give it to 70.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Top tier.
So, Eddie, I love the review.
Okay.
And I love the review mainly even more because I also give it a 3.5.
Hey, my boy.
And I want this on record. Right now, me and Eddie have seen, in the month of January, we've seen 2 movies, and our rankings have been identical.
Yeah.
The Damned was a 3.3 for both of us.
Yeah.
Wolfman's a 3.5.
Well, you're jumping the gun on that.
You know?
Because we're reviewing that next.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a little spoiler there. But this is hands down a 3.5. Yeah. I agree with Eddie. We're big werewolf lovers, and I think a floor for almost any werewolf movie is like a 3.2.
Yeah.
But this movie did a few more things right. But like Eddie said, this may not be honorable mention. It may not be best of. It might not even hit a list at all at the end of this year.
Yeah.
But it's a movie that we're both going to own.
Oh, 100%.
It's a movie we think is overhated because I see the comments. I'm seeing a lot of 2.5s, a lot of 3s. I just don't get that. I think it's better than that.
I don't get it personally. I mean, because I think even if it's not your cup of tea, I think much like how we're doing, you need to appreciate what he did.
Yeah.
Because he did so many, like that. I'm telling you, that shot where he's flipping the camera and adjusting the lights. It's so simple, but so clever.
I agree. I mean, and there's a scene with an animal. You don't know if it's a wolf. And it's just so loud. And then when you figure out what it is.
That scene did not go where I expected.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Because Leigh Whannell does a great job of giving you lore from the perspective of a wolf. I loved the idea of us seeing a slow transformation. And the transformation takes the whole movie. Because we've never seen that in a werewolf movie. And what's so cool about it is we just see all the details of each stage of the transformation. And really hats off to Leigh Whannell. I mean, you found the right career path. I think he is a great director. I mean, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Upgrade. You've just done some really good stuff. Writing Saw with James Wan and Insidious. Man, you're going to be one that we keep our eye on going forward.
We're big Leigh Whannell guys.
Big Leigh Whannell guys, yeah. All right,
but this next movie, our rating is 3.3.
Yep, yeah.
But let's at least tell you about the movie. Tell you how we got there. So this is The Dam from Thordir Pálsson. Like I said, from everything I could find online, a 250,000 euro budget.
Yep.
Which equates to an American like 323,000.
Nothing.
So incredible low.
And you've got Joe Cole, who's a big name actor, who's also in Peaky Blinders.
Well, you also got Rory McCann.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
But this movie, very small cast. And our lead is Odessa Young, who plays Ava. And basically, you have this. Where do you think this took place?
This took place early 1900s.
Early 1900s?
This was like 1920s, 1930s. I would say this took place like around like the Ireland Isles, like somewhere like Northern Europe, Scotland, Ireland, England, one of those like coastal.
It has like a Nordic feel to it.
Yeah.
And basically you have a small fishing colony.
Yeah.
It's wintertime, so they're trying to stock up, and
it was Ireland. It was Ireland because it was filmed in Ireland. I'm pretty sure it was filmed in Ireland.
Well,
and they this movie's about the Dragars, so that's an Irish folklore.
So one day they're going to fish and a boat crashes.
Yeah.
And from there everything goes haywire. because you have the Dragar.
Yeah.
And the Dragar, Trey, you're a D&D guy. Would you explain to us what a Dragar is?
Yeah, a Dragar is a halfling drow. They are a tunnel, type race. They stay in the dark. They have a dark complexion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more standoffish. They have trouble accepting other cultures and races in D&D. And in my experience, every time I've come across one, they tend to be a little bit more territorial, where you can get a little bit of they're not scared to fight, you know what I mean?
And in this, they're presented with like this folklore where they take over the soul of like a dead body, and then they come and torment you in that dead body.
Yeah.
This movie does a lot with sound. It does a lot with, just making it very eerie, because everywhere it's just snowy. They're very isolated.
Yes.
It's very cold. And they do a lot of good stuff. The scene where she's walking and you see it in the, like, where they have their, like, fish kept.
Yes.
Was so good.
Oh, yeah.
They do a lot of spooky stuff. I'm trying not to say too much, but I will say this. The ending reveal.
Yeah.
You're like, it's kind of like a Saint Maud, where
I was just thinking that it's not at the level of Saint Maud, because I feel like we were at a 3 with Saint Maud, and he bumped it up almost, bumped up a whole half a point for us to 3.5. This, I feel like we were at a 3 and it bumped up to like a 3.3 for us.
Yeah, I was probably at like a 2.9.
Okay, yeah.
And it bumped it up enough where I'm like, you know what?
Inventive.
Let me bump it up to 3.
It was more thought provoking than we thought, and really did like the ending a lot. But the performances were really good. This movie is going to be slower than most have the attention span.
Very slow.
But you and me have no problem with slow burners, especially if it pays off, which this one,
and it does pay off. I would say my biggest issue, I would tell folks going into it, don't expect a lot of like reveals other than something at the end. Don't expect like a ton of like jump scares. This movie's mainly about building dread, building a spooky atmosphere, which it does. And overall, just a decent little movie. To get a foreign film, of this caliber in movies just for a short release, I always enjoy, supporting those type of filmmakers. And, we went opening night. We did.
And I really thought they did, again, with our rating, they did more right than wrong. Spooky atmosphere, gives you a little bit of the fog. Doesn't, it's not, of course, at the fog level, because to me that's absolutely at least a 4.3 movie. But
that's John Carpenter.
I mean, we're in another class here, but really, for the filmmaker, I think they did a great job.
Thor Dear Parson.
Yeah, and they had a tight script. They knew what they were doing, but again, these are things me and Eddie don't mind. But if you're not into slow burners and you're not into like dark movies, because the movie is very dark. In fact, there was one person that died going overboard, and I didn't even know who it was until halfway through the movie.
When he says dark, he doesn't mean like dark as in like ooh or something,
like dark and scary, like dark and scary.
He means dark as in it's very
dimly lit,
where you're like,
you're really, which I mean, I get why they do that. It's, sets the mood, and which it works. But there's some scenes you're like, wait, what just happened?
Well, like to Trey's point, there's a scene where she's looking, they're in the hall and she's looking in the corner, and I didn't even know she saw something. Because it was like so dark. I didn't even notice a person sitting there.
Kind of reminds us of Long Legs, where backwards scenes of the devil, and you got to really pay attention to catch it, you know.
But cool movie, check it out. I would say wait for it on streaming.
Yeah.
If you have a sound bar, hear me out.
Yeah.
Saturday night, wait till it's dark, cut all lights out, crank your sound bar. I think you'll have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But Trey, before we get into the list of the week, I gotta handle Mr. Snail's pick of the week.
All right.
So based on the 2021 novel from Rachel Yoder comes Nightbitch.
Okay.
So this is from Mariel Huller, who I actually am a very big fan of. She did 2 films I love.
Okay.
She did A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers, Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, I heard that was really
good. And she did Melissa McCarthy's best performance in a film, Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Oh, wow. Yeah, 2 solid dramas.
Yeah. And this has Amy Adams as mother. And she basically pauses her career to be a stay-at-home mom. Let me tell y'all, if you want a movie, they might as well rename this movie to Birth Control the Movie.
Man.
Because this movie shows you how terrible and monotonous motherhood is. Doing this, like the opening like 15 minutes is her doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
Doing the same things in the morning, eating the same things because she's got a picky toddler. It just makes it miserable. It just makes kids out to be these little messy, giving you no sleep monsters.
Yeah.
And the movie is like her where she at night turns into a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And so like she's growing, she like gets extra nipples. She's growing a tail. It's a weird little movie, man. I don't know how the book is, but maybe because I don't have kids, I'm not a mom.
So is it supposed to be symbolic of like a dog, how a dog's very routine? It does the same thing day in, day out?
No, it's supposed to be, I don't know, dude. To me,
she turned into a dog in this movie, or what is she? Okay.
They don't show it.
Oh, okay.
But you get the gist. I think what it's supposed to do is how dogs are so free.
Okay.
And she feels confined because she did give up her career to be in this motherhood role.
Oh, yeah.
And so for her, it's an escape because she does it like at night and she like runs with the pack and she's free to do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
But Amy Adams puts a lot into this movie. And like I said, I do like the director, but it just wasn't for me. Like I said, maybe if I had kids, maybe if I was a mom, I could, understand, relate.
You can relate, yeah.
But for me, it just didn't work.
It's just, we're probably not the target audience.
Oh, 100%.
So that's probably why it didn't work for us, you know what I mean? Or for you, I haven't seen the movie, but like us as in guys,
But for me, I'm going to give it a 2.8. Okay. I didn't hate it, but like I said, it just wasn't for me, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
But I have to base it based on, what I saw.
Yeah.
But Trey, I'm going to give you this.
All right, buddy.
This Mr. Snail's pick of the week, for those that are new, how we do this, it's every other week. So when we do our companion episode, we'll have the next one. So in 2 weeks, whatever Trey rolls, that will be our film. So this week's picks are double feature, The Royal Hotel, Exuma, The Mutilator, Pride and Prejudice, The Incredible Bulk, Invaders from Proxima B, Red Rooms, Electric Dreams, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Chompy and the Girls, Beast Within, Kneecap, Murder Party, Babes, The Thicket, Fire and Ice, Tourist Trap, It's What's Inside, and Mads.
Okay. So we need a 19 or a 20 here.
All right, Trey, give it a good roll.
16.
The Thicket.
The Thicket looks good.
So this movie was just added to Tubi.
It's cowboy movie.
It's a cowboy movie with our man Peter Dinklage. Yeah. So Tubi, it's free. Check it out.
I wanted to see The Thicket anyway, so I'm glad that we might dive into that tonight. Who knows?
We'll watch it and we'll be back to let you know. Remember, it's not next week; it'll be week after, every 2 weeks.
Right.
But Trey, I think it's the end of the episode, which means it's list time, my boy.
I think it is, buddy.
Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start? What are you feeling?
I'll jump in.
Okay, jump in. Tag in.
Mine be quick, and I feel pretty good about these.
Okay.
So at number 5, I actually have Lee Wannell's The Wolfman.
Okay.
I think that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I wanted to make it on the list. I think they did a really good job, and it was fun. It was fun for what I got. They did really good sounds with the Wolfman. Did a really, I mean, I think the practical effects goes a long way, and they did practical effects was really good. So can't go wrong with that. At number 4, I have Wolf Cop.
Oh my God.
Wolf Cop, one of my all-time favorites.
Trey does love this one.
I love both Wolf Cops. I am a big defender of those two movies. They're hilarious.
He really is.
They're hilarious, and they have a good story. And the werewolf, the Wolf Man looks good. And it's definitely a wolf man because he talks.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got more of the Wolfman features. He can wield a gun. That's more manly than a werewolf,
Well, that's that.
That's because also, if you look at Wolf Cop, he looks identical to Benicio del Toro's Wolfman.
Oh, there you go.
So it's 100% a Wolfman. But number 3, Werewolf by Night.
See, I was torn on that one. I was like, I don't know if that counts as a werewolf or a wolf man.
I 100%. When you look at it and you compare it to Benicio del Toro's or Wolf Cop,
that one
definitely
was
Wolfman.
So good.
So good. It really is. And he speaks.
Yeah.
So yeah. I feel like once you go into the werewolf territory, they're just fully animalistic at that point. At number 2, Eddie's gonna laugh at me. I don't care what anyone says. I will defend this movie till the day I die. Howl.
Heck yeah.
I love Howl. I think those wolfmen type creatures look incredible. They look great at night.
Great setting.
Great setting. I love the way they look. They look scary as heck, man. I mean, if I saw one of those creatures walking in the door, that thing is terrifying, man. God. I'm just saying, dude, that thing is wild looking. And I probably lose points for Eddie and other people because it doesn't really like a werewolf, but it just works for me. I don't know why, but it does. And number 1, I don't care what anyone says. This has to be number 1. If you are talking about a Wolfman list, you have to go with the OG. It is the original Lon Chaney Wolfman at number 1. It's the first one to do it. It's the first one to do it. They created a new vision for what werewolves can be. And I always love the Lon Chaney, not only because it's so iconic, but again, what they do with the Wolfman movie formula, they make them more humanistic.
Yeah.
They give the world a different look. And they all still have a little bit of that like human consciousness, which I think has always been a cool angle, and that's why I fell in love with the original Wolfman. And even though I don't like all of them, I love that formula. So yeah, that's my list,
dude. Okay, solid. So number 5, I have Lee Wannell's The Wolfman.
No crap, dude. Okay.
I love the lore. I think the look. As he's just at first he in Lee Wannell, he had some inspiration from The Fly,
right?
And when you see it, he kind of has that before he gets to his final transformation,
right?
Just thought it was great. At number 4, I have Howl.
Nice, buddy. Okay,
I do have issues when you finally fully see them.
Yeah.
But there is no denying when they're in the beginning out in the woods, when you see that clawing the train, when you first see it burst through the door, they do enough effectiveness.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, this is very solid.
Right.
Okay. So number 3, I have a tie.
Okay.
Because it's the same idea.
Okay.
So my tie is Silver Bullet and American Werewolf in London, The Nightmares. So in Silver Bullet, you had the pastor giving a sermon.
Yeah.
And they're all like turning, but they're like wolfman.
Yeah.
And then you have the Nazi soldiers in American Werewolf in London. And to me, those are they come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they just are so gross looking.
Yeah.
That I had to give them a shout.
Yeah.
So number 2, this is a movie much like how Trey is with Howl, this is my version of Howl, and that's Where.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the film? I love this guy. He is a suspect.
Yeah.
That, it's a big like detective thing. And this dude, he's massive.
Yeah.
He's enormous. He's got these full hair arms.
Yeah.
He's got like this big face, hair covering his eyes. He's got big fingers with claws.
Yeah.
And, he's a wolf man. He's not a werewolf, but
right.
If that dude rang your doorbell, you're not answering.
No.
You're going to be like, hell no.
Right. Exactly.
But number one has to be Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman.
Bro, yes.
And
dude.
see, for me, what it was, I don't know if you did this, but me and Ed, we always did this. And it was inspired by Lon Chaney Jr., where, when I was a little bitty kid, I'm still small, but when I was a little bitty, we would like pretend to be turned into a werewolf. And we'd always do the Lon Chaney Jr. like,
Yeah.
And so because of that, we're like, anytime I think of a wolf man, I think of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's Lon Chaney Jr.
It is.
Had to give Lon Chaney Jr. The number one spot.
He started it all. And when you think of Wolfman, your first thought goes to the original, the Universal, monster. And they just did such a great job. And it was eerie. The transformation was cool. You remember when he's walking, it shows the feet first, and then it shows the body, and then the head.
And it's kind of tragic too.
Yeah.
All these movies are kind of,
they
don't end on a happy note if you're the wolf man.
No, not the Wolfman movies.
Don't be a wolf man, because you ain't making it to the end credits.
Yeah, seriously, man.
But guys, we hope you enjoyed, and make sure to watch. We are watching The Thicket. Make sure to check it out. It's available on Tubi. It's free.
Give some love to Tubi, guys.
Give some love. The only real streaming service we got.
Right.
But if you want to let us know what you thought about our movies, maybe you like Nightbitch. We don't know. Maybe you think we didn't rate Wolfman high enough. Maybe you think we rate it too high. There's so many ways you can do it, but let me tell you the best ways. Check us out on Instagram and not TikTok anymore.
I know.
I'm sorry, guys.
I know. It hurts, man. It's like a bad breakup.
Watch our old videos before they're gone.
Yeah.
A Toast to Film, all one word.
Yeah.
Check us out on Twitter at film_toast, or check us out on beautiful YouTube. Just search a Toast to Film podcast.
Yeah.
And from Trey and myself, we just wish you a good night
and good viewing.
Oh.
Dude.